Welcome to Meet Me at the Deli, the food advice podcast where the pickles and slaw are always free. I'm Liz.
And I'm Jeffrey. Every episode, we're answering your burning food and culinary questions and sharing stories and insights from years working in the industry and living in our self-made shtetl.
Hey, how are you, Jeffrey?
Hey, Liz.
How's it going?
It's going well. Going well, yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, I have a short thing I want to share with you.
Okay.
Which is that on our last episode, we talked about opening our heart to bagels and cream cheese that maybe were outside of our strict ideas of what they should be, right?
Yeah, like the sweet, like touristy bagels and cream cheese.
Right.
Yeah.
Look at the judgment. Shade. So much. Those touristy bagels.
Yeah.
No, listen, whatever. And we were saying that like maybe they're good and maybe we should have them. And then I revealed that I had never had a blueberry bagel, you know, despite, talking about how terrible they were. I've never actually had one. So I've still not had one. That's the punchline. But I wanted to tell you, I will. But I went on a mission the day after we taped. I was on Long Island with my parents in Long Beach, New York. And I told them this story about how I've never had a blueberry bagel. And they were like, what do you mean blueberry bagel? And my dad proceeded to call every bagel shop in Long Beach, New York. And I think it was seven shops. No blueberry bagels.
Wow.
No blueberry bagels.
Way to go, Long Beach.
I thought that was really interesting. And my mom was like, who would even make a blueberry bagel? This is crazy. Like, she was like throwing shade like you can't imagine. And my dad was like, I'm going to look into this. Could not find a blueberry bagel. And there's a picture somewhere of him like on his phone, like trying to track it down. Because I was like, guys, I didn't eat because I thought I would get off the train, walk across the street to the bagel shop and get a blueberry bagel. No blueberry bagel. So then he proceeded to call all of them. No blueberry bagel in the entire island. Even the shop that I thought would have it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I just wanted to say my saga of the blueberry bagel continues. I know that we have this idea that perhaps we will try it on air, and, maybe that's what we're going to do.
First off, dedication. I really appreciate it. Your father, way to go.
I know. I was like,
really
Dad,
trying. And your mom as a
journey.
purist. So I'm really, the only thing is that if we do a blueberry bagel on the show, it's got to be fresh. And so we need to figure out like
I know,
how to.
We tape it. It's the evening right now.
Yeah.
I know. I thought, well, that was part of it. Today, my surprise was going to be that I brought a blueberry bagel, but
I
couldn't get it fresh enough.
So a great update. Thank you. Okay. Well,
just thought I'd bring it back.
Okay. Well, I have a story for you. Last Thursday, I went to one of the in our lives as these food professionals. I feel like we're always going to food panels and.
A lot of panels. On a panel. Going to a panel.
Yeah. So I
heard about a panel.
So last minute, I wasn't supposed to go. Last minute, I got to go to this really great panel at Kitchen Arts and Letters, which is this wonderful cookbook bookstore. And this was a talk, and I saw it, and I was like, I really want to go to this. Jane Ziegelman, who wrote 97 Orchard, the wonderful book about the tenement foods of the Tenement Museum and the Lower East Side culinary history, and a new book all about the foods of and the culture of the shtetls in Eastern Europe, and of course the famed Ruth Reichel, the New York Times food critic, cookbook author, gourmet editor, writer of both amazing memoir and fiction, and then Alexander Smalls, who is a restaurateur in Harlem. He opened the most recent place he opened, or at least the most famous one, was the Cecil, which but many other ones as well. And he actually co-wrote the book Between Harlem and Heaven with J.J. Johnson that was put out by our same publisher the year after ours.
That party.
We went to the cookbook launch. And he was on there, and these were like heavy hitters all together, moderated by Julia Moskin of the New York Times. And so I was like excited to go.
What was the topic?
Wonderful talk all about New York food. It was like all about New York food. They were telling these great stories of like what New York was like in the 70s and the 80s and how. So I went to this, and then after everyone's schmoozing and talking, and Jane, who's a friend and a colleague who I've just respected, we were like, oh, we're gonna just go get a drink after, and then Alexander and Ruth were signing books, and they're like, where are you going? Maybe we'll join. And then we ended up going to drinks at one of the Union Square hospitality restaurants downtown Manhattan. We're looking out over the city, and it was just like this magical New York night. And so I was just so grateful for that, and had got to share a burger with Ruth Reichel. So
Right on.
Yeah, not
oh
too
my God,
shabby.
so cool.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, how was the burger?
Solid.
Solid.
Everything at like a Danny Meyer restaurant, it's like everything is solid. I will say the standout with the French fries. Perfectly cooked. And then, of course, I had to ask, tell me about the French fry. How did you do this? And in fact, some of the folks sitting at the table thought that maybe they somehow managed to take mashed potatoes and fry them somehow because they were so good.
Wow.
They couldn't figure it out. And I was like, no way they did that. We asked the guy pouring us water if he could tell us, and he tells us the exact process for making the potatoes.
He knew everything.
This is the Union Square hospitality approach. Everyone knows everything. It's amazing hospitality. And so he tells us that first they blanch the potatoes, then they pan fry. They saute the potatoes, then they do a deep fry before they serve it. And they source a special, I think it was called a chipperwich potato, a type of Idaho russet potato, but that is specifically perfectly designed for this scenario.
This purpose.
Yeah.
Final question, what shape were the French fries?
They were quite large and like flat and thick.
I like that,
Yeah.
like a steak.
Like
steak
very
cut.
much, yeah.
Okay, I do like that kind
Yeah.
of fry. Okay, great. I love it. Thank
Yeah.
you for telling me that. I know that you have had such a fun night that night because you told me you went to a great panel, but I'm happy to hear the details.
I was saving the story.
Yeah, cool. Well, great. Well, Jeffrey, we are so excited because today we are going to do things a little differently.
Shaking it up.
We're shaking it up. We have now been, we're pretty deep into this podcast. We wanted to do something a little differently. So we are the nerds today. We get to be the nerds. We are going to ask some questions of our friend who is in town from Rochester, scholar, author Nora Rubel, who's here launching her new book, which we're about to talk about.
Well, and the book, The Recipes for the Melting Pot, The Lives of the Settlement Cookbook, which we're going to get into. And for those who are I'd say, lovers of food history, of old cookbooks, of the story of immigration and assimilation, and who love the complications that arise, this is a book that tells the story through the Settlement Cookbook. And we'll get into what that means for those who don't know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So Nora's here from University of Rochester. She is the co-director of the Jewish Studies Department there, chair of the Department of Religion and Classics. We got to go up there and visit a bunch of years ago. It was a really amazing experience. She's written 4 books, This book is her latest.
Just out from Columbia University Press. And I think it's worth noting that Nora's other claim to fame, which we'll hopefully get to, is that her partner, Rob Knipe, is the vegan butcher of Rochester. So
I think we alluded to this also in a couple episodes ago.
And I do want to note, I know the actual a kosher meat butcher in Rochester. So I'm very proud that I know the vegan butcher and the kosher meat butcher in Rochester, New York.
And how many times have you been to Rochester? One time.
Twice. I went to a wedding of the butcher.
The butcher. Okay, because I'm like, wow, Jeffrey, you really have deep roots in Rochester.
Listen.
For someone who's been there once, but okay, twice.
Yeah.
Got it. Fine. Okay, so let's do it. I am so excited that we have Nora here. Welcome, Nora. Welcome to Meet Me at the Deli.
Welcome.
We're so happy you're here.
I am so excited to be here. This is like Jewish food goals, Love it. Jews, food. You guys.
Speaking of Jewish food goals, Nora, last night you had a launch party for your book, Recipes for the Melting Pot, at Bonnie Slotnick's East Village Cookbook shop, which is such a special place. Can I just say?
Yes.
You walk down little stairs. It's on 2nd Street.
I know.
You're like,
It's
what
like a
even
little
is
magical
this magical
little
cavern?
space, yeah.
Shout out to Bonnie Slotnick. Yes.
She's wonderful.
How did you choose that spot?
So I met Bonnie, I'm going to say like 12 years ago, possibly at this point. She was running a booth at the Roger Smith Hotel, where they had an annual cookbook conference for a while, and they fed us incredibly well, which is the thing about doing like food studies, is that you just get to eat good food. I mean, what you guys do probably lends itself to that as well. But anyway, Bonnie was there, and she had some used stuff, and I started talking to her, and I said, do you know if you have any copies of the Settlement Cookbook? Because I'm doing a project on that. And she got so excited and it's like, I love the Settlement Cookbook. That is the reason I got into this business. This is why
Wow,
I
that's
opened
cool.
my store.
Whoa.
So I've been in touch with her for a long time. And, she kept asking, when is it coming out? When is it coming out? Which is, it took a very long time for it to come out, but I felt like it was the right place to do that with her.
So for the uninitiated, can you just tell us what is the Settlement Cookbook?
What is the Settlement Cookbook?
And we should note we have copies of the Settlement Cookbook around down here, and some actually they're all on the table here. But we'll get into these copies shortly.
We'll get into it.
What is it? Tell us.
Yeah.
And how did you come to write a book about this cookbook?
Okay, so the Settlement Cookbook is a charitable community cookbook that came out of a settlement house in Milwaukee in 1901. And
what is a settlement house?
Okay, thank you for asking, Jeffrey. So the settlement movement started in England, in London, really. It's kind of the precursor to social work. And settlement houses were created to help the urban poor kind of find jobs, stay off the streets, et cetera, et cetera. When the movement in the 19th century came to the United States, it became clear that the urban poor were primarily immigrants. So they started doing things like teaching English. They had cooking classes. They had all kinds of different clubs. So this particular settlement house in Milwaukee was run by a woman named Lizzie Kander, and she taught a very popular cooking class, and it was a kosher cooking class because of the Eastern European immigrants who came. And it was a Jewish settlement, which they weren't all. Many of these settlement houses were run by liberal Protestants. The most famous settlement house was Hull House in Chicago, which a lot of people know about Jane Addams. So Lizzie Kander was often called the Jane Addams of Milwaukee. And this was specifically a Jewish settlement house meant to deal with Eastern European immigrants who had come over relatively recently.
And she was German, right?
German Jewish,
yeah.
But she was born in the States. Her parents, actually, I think it was her grandparents who were immigrants from
So her
Central
family
Europe.
had been well established in the United States, but they were Jewish.
She was part of an acculturated, Reform Jewish community. And her father had a store, and she worked in it. Anyway, so she taught this cooking class. And at the time, community cookbooks or fundraising cookbooks had become really popular, particularly with women's groups.
Yeah, shout out to probably a lot of our listeners who probably have some synagogue cookbook in their house or some community cookbook that they've seen, and the recipes are all kooky, crazy seeming, and there's drawings and it's whatever. But those were, they were huge for decades.
They were huge. And people still do them. But yeah, they started around the Civil War. The first noted one was at the Great Sanitary Fair in Philadelphia.
Sounds like a great time.
I know, I know. So yeah, that was the kickoff. But these things became definitely used for not just fundraising for organizations, but also for causes. So there's a temperance cookbook. There's a suffrage cookbook. But yeah, churches and synagogues picked it up very quickly. And so the story, this is steeped in Milwaukee lore, is that Lizzie Kander was these kids spend so much time writing down the recipes. We lose the time we could be doing our cooking.
The kids, as in those working at the settlement?
The girls
coming
that
to the
took
cooking class.
Taking the cooking class. So they're all writing the recipes down.
They were writing the recipes down. So she thought, well, what we could do is have a charitable cookbook where the recipes for the classes are in it. And then we can also have some other recipes in there that we like. And then we can sell it to the students for a very small fee, but maybe a little bit more for everybody else. Kander goes to the board of the Jewish Mission, which is what it was called at the time, and says, can I have $18 to print this? And they said, no. And they said it seemed like
it's
an
1900.
extravagance.
It's the year 1900.
It's the year 1900.
Yeah.
They're like, No, but then they kind of joked that like they'd be happy to share in the profits. So she was like, well, I know people. So if you look at any of the earlier editions of the Settlement Cookbook, there are ads in the front and the back. So she had friends who had a printing press. She went to them. She raised money for ads. So they started selling these cookbooks at the Boston store, which was a department store in town. And then it kind of filtered into Chicago, and they all sold out. And their first run of 500 copies just like disappeared immediately. But 9 years later, she was able to buy these dudes at the mission a new house for the settlement.
Because the book was that popular.
Yeah, it went, so over time, it went through 40 different editions, sold over 2 million copies, and really spans like a century, from 1901 to 1991.
That was the last published edition?
The last published edition was 1991, yeah.
Now, I was going to ask you a question. Like, did you grow up with the Settlement Cookbook?
It's a good question. I don't have any memories of growing up with the Settlement Cookbook, but I did know what it was. And I was trying, in anticipation of this conversation, trying to think, when was it that I first heard about it? And I couldn't remember, which tells me that it was in the air.
Is this one of the most successful, what's it called, charity books of its time?
It is the most successful fundraising cookbook in America.
Wow.
It's in the James Beard Hall of Fame, next to The Joy of Cooking and the Fannie Farmer cookbook. It was a big deal. It was, and it came out well before The Joy of Cooking. So in the Midwest, and then as it grew, it became a very popular, wedding present, bridal shower present.
Well, so one of the things that's on my mind is that this book clearly was originally designed sort of with the attendees of the settlement house in mind. And clearly it jumped to a more middle class or even upper middle class audience. And it sounds like that almost happened immediately, right?
It was very quick.
Right. It sounds like Lizzie Kander made this book originally for her students in the settlement house, but then quickly realized that if we wanted to have any commercial appeal, we could, or any appeal at all beyond the walls, we needed to have other recipes. You even said it. You said, let's include some other recipes in here. And I was so intrigued that this is not just a recipe book, but it also has tips on how to manage a house, or how to set a table, or how to manage servants,
There's a section that's very sadly entitled "When There Is No Maid."
When there is no maid.
God forbid.
We're laughing.
Heaven forbid.
We're laughing, but it's not even that funny. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this is what interests me is to what extent was it important for immigrants to learn how to set a table or serve a dish? Did they just not know how to do that, or was America just a new world for doing that stuff?
I think that there was a move. It's really respectability politics, I think, and a little bit, particularly in these classes that they were teaching, like household management, right? It's the dawn of home economics. So there's this idea, or domestic science, right? There's this idea that there is a right way to do these certain things. And so, a lot of these immigrants did not have the ability to set a table the way that it was asked, right, of them. But there was also a sense that maybe they would go into domestic service for other people, and they would need to know how to do that. But you're right, it kind of jumps pretty quickly. A lot of her students did not go into domestic service. This is something, historians have found, that Jewish women tended to do other jobs, like they would work in laundries or they would get clerical jobs. They did not particularly care for domestic service. And so that was not something that happened, but then there was sort of like a bump in the direction of the cookbook towards really like managing a household, right? That this would be something that like, how do you manage your maid, right? Or, and the cookbook itself, the first one, it's divided into two parts. Like you don't see that in the later editions once it gets into the aughts. But it was part one had the lessons, part two was full of recipes from her friends. And they were a lot more high end, I guess. Less like how to boil water, how to make coffee,
So one of the details that I loved in your book, you talked about the early years of the book not having any garlic in it.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Can you, first off, as someone who grew up in a much more classically Ashkenazi home, we had plenty of kugel, and we loved it, and we loved noodle kugel with the cornflake crust on top. That was like any brunch special occasion. That's what we
Want
did.
it right now.
But
That
like
sounds nice.
but garlic.
Cup of coffee and a kugel.
Oh my
Come
gosh!
on.
Yeah,
Come on.
living life here. But garlic was just like, a signature piece of our identity. And to even knowing the Settlement Cookbook has this Jewish story, and to think that it was garlicless in this way, like, how did that come to be?
I mean, I think that there was an attempt to sort of, tone down the ethnic a little bit at this time. And
In the early editions.
I think that there's still, there's definitely like concern about anti-Semitism, particularly by these acculturated Reform Jews who are like, we want to help you because you are our co-religionists of a sort. And also, we don't want you to embarrass us by being strange. But also, there is like this history of referring to Jews as garlic eaters. And it goes back into like deep, dark Christian libel. It goes back to medieval times. It was seen as something that, also could like catch Jews out during the Inquisition. But also, Jews have also called themselves garlic eaters, right? It's in the Talmud, actually. And that Jews pined for garlic when they were in the desert. And this is something that is also supposed to be a bit of an aphrodisiac. It's encouraged because, it makes you happy. And the same things that, like, they say about wine, right? Like, it can make you amorous. It can make you enjoy life. So Jews love garlic. And obviously, different areas used it differently. And I think there was just a sense of trying to kind of tone that down. And it is interesting that in the first, 20 years, a little less than that, you sort of see a slow creep of recipes with garlic, but they're all not Jewish recipes, right? They are specifically like Italian or Spanish. And that just kind of slowly increases.
Well, it's interesting is one of the things, you begin the book really talking about some of the context for the settlement houses and the graham bread, the Kellogg, this attempt to create these bland foods to really
to purify.
Well, not just to purify,
culture.
but to suppress sexuality. And you talk about garlic being this aphrodisiac, and so here we are in. Garlic not being included is going this is essentially the blandification of these foods that we talk about. We had talked, Liz and I, one of the things I do want to get into is the impact of assimilation and the role that the settlement house and these classes and these cookbooks has in diluting the culture. Because I find it so frustrating when I hear people say that they think these Ashkenazi foods are so bland. One of my favorite quotes from 97 Orchard from Jane Ziegelman's book is she says 100 years ago on the Lower East Side, if you said that Jewish food, specifically Eastern European Jewish food, if you said that food was bland, you'd be laughed out of the Lower East Side. It was known across New York for being so garlicky and pungent and strong sour and flavorful. And if anything, like the watering down of these recipes and handing out recipes that have taken out some of those essential items, that actually is part of this process of changing and I think ruining some of these food traditions. So I'm so curious to get into that with you. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That's obviously something the two of you work very hard to dispel, right? The Gefilte Manifesto was all about kind of reclaiming those foods and bringing back the flavor. This is also something that is going on during this period of immigration where spices in general are sort of discouraged just to everybody. And there was a lot of concern about adulterated foods. So that spices, there's no real supervision of anything at this point. And so people like Jane Addams or Ellen Richards, who kind of jump-started the New England kitchen, which was like a hub of domestic science, said, this is the spices are adulterated with sawdust or something. So it's dangerous for you to eat them. Also, there was concern that spices would make you drink more.
Right. There's a lot of that in your book, that these kind of spices and stuff also cause people to crave alcohol.
Right.
That was a real concern that people had.
This is during the temperance movement, which precedes the suffrage movement. But it's a lot of the same players, right, that are involved in all of these things, right? There's a big concern about drunkenness. There's a big concern about men abusing their wives because of that they would go, instead of going home for dinner like a good man should, he would drink away their earnings after a long day of work and then come home and, beat his wife, right? So a lot of these cooking schools that had classes were like, this is supposed to make it nice for a man to come home, right?
Oh, that's why it's called The Way to a Man's Heart.
It could be the reason it's called.
And that's actually
that's the title.
Right, The Way to a Man's Heart, the Settlement Cookbook. That was the original title
That was
for
the
book.
original title of the book, yeah. They were actually really litigious about this, too. The Way to a Man's Heart, anytime you saw anything that used that expression related to cooking, they kind of went after them. It was really
Lizzie Kander didn't fuck around.
Yeah. And
For
it was
real. That's obvious.
So that was they had some lawyers at the ready.
Yeah. Well, this is so interesting though, because I always knew about that, this immorality, this conception of spicy foods and garlicky foods and pungent foods, flavors being immoral. And pickles were one of the culprits. Pickles were seen as an immoral food for that reason. And so I always, it's so funny because to me, I now I'm eating a lacto-fermented, a pickle. I'm this is so good for my gut. I'm communing with my ancestors. I'm appreciating New York history, all these kinds of things. And yet this was an immoral food, a food that was known for licentiousness or seen for potentially promoting bad behavior in men. And what a wild, been a long 120 years or so,
I mean, there definitely were reports from settlement workers that Jewish mothers gave their children too many pickles, right? That was not good for them. And
would not have done well.
No.
So essentially what we see is in the beginning a lack of flavor, a lack of spices. But at a certain point, we start to see that shift, in the later editions.
Yeah,
as the culture changes, you start to see more garlic, more spices, more flavor in general.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this book, it has this. It's Jewish coded. It's overtly Jewish coded, right? It came from a Jewish settlement house. A Jewish person created it. But let's go back to the idea that it is not just for Jews and it's not kosher. I'm interested in that tension. Clearly this was something that the Jewish community embraced and knew about because it was kind of from the Jewish community, but it also became popular with communities outside of
Right. I mean,
Jewish
I think this also goes to how do we use cookbooks, right? I mean, if you think about the cookbooks that you have and that the pages that you open them to and then the pages you never open, right? Mm-hmm. So, some people probably used it for Passover dishes, right? Because there actually were Passover dishes in the cookbook.
Can we name a few?
Matzah's Charlotte.
Nice.
Matzah brie. There were different types of potato things using potato flour that clearly marked it as something that was
Yeah, there were a lot of
Passover.
desserts too.
Yeah,
Passover desserts. I saw.
People love this cookbook for baking, but yeah, there's a lot of dessert there, and so this is one of the things, right? Jews think it's theirs, right? Like in a way, but obviously it couldn't have been the most successful fundraising cookbook in America if only Jews bought this cookbook, right?
I want to show. Look at the matzah section.
Right, the matzah section. Matzah apple pudding, matzah lemon sponge cake, matzah meal almond torte, matzah meal apple torte, matzah meal dumplings, potato, matzah meal pancakes, matzah meal potato dumplings, matzah meal puff pancakes, matzah meal torten, matzah spice sponge cake, matzah sponge cake, matzah sponge roll, matzah scrambled eggs with matzah's almond dumpling, matzah balls, matzah batter pudding, matzah charlotte with apples, matzah cookies, matzah dumpling, matzah fritters, matzah French toast, matzah fruit fritters, matzah close, matzah pancakes, matzah parvel, matzah pie shell, matzah pie topping, matzah soup.
And there's a whole list of things in there.
And then mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, obviously.
A beautiful recitation.
Thank you.
Yeah, a dramatic reading.
I do that
of
every
matzah
day.
items.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, matzo balls are in the first edition, right? So a lot of the context for where this went is that it got passed around in the Jewish community, and then they said, "Well, why doesn't it have a recipe for this Passover thing that I want?" You know, and so the more it grew, the more traditionally Ashkenazi Jewish recipes were in it. But also the treif got upped a lot as well.
Treif meaning not kosher, meaning things that traditionally observant Jews do not eat, like pork, shellfish, and dairy and meat in the same dish.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
There's a whole seafood, shellfish section, and yeah.
Yeah, there's ham in the first edition.
What is a bacon sandwich casserole? Yeah.
A bacon sandwich?
Bacon sandwich casserole. Yeah, I found it. I have it here.
Huh.
What's relevant here, I think, is that the Jews that had been there, the acculturated Jews, the Lizzie Kanders, the people who had created the settlement houses or were running the settlement houses, were largely not keeping kosher. They were not observing the Jewish dietary laws.
No, and the majority of American Jews in the country already who were affiliated with any kind of religious community were Reform.
And so they were not, like kosher was seen as a little bit outdated, maybe
the Reform
antiquated.
movement actually expressly rejects it in the 1880s.
Right.
With their Pittsburgh platform. And also there is this very kind of dramatic moment when the first graduating class of Hebrew Union College in Cincinnati.
The Reform Rabbinical School.
Reform Rabbinical School. Like, it's the first time that there are, like, American minted rabbis because they used to import them, right? Or they didn't have a rabbi, right? They had, like, a lay leader or a cantor or something. So this was a big deal. This is an American movement. These are American rabbis. It's awesome. They invite all of these Jewish dignitaries to this event. It's huge, and it is a completely non-kosher soup to nuts, like completely, clams on the half shell come
Frog's
out.
legs and on there. Yeah.
There's like cream sauce over the steak.
Oh my gosh!
And but there is no pork. There's shellfish, but no pork.
Right. Pork's
But
the line.
Pork is the line for a lot of people. The apocryphal story, though, is that a bunch of guys got up. They were so outraged. It was so offensive to them that, like, there is this Jewish event. If they were anywhere else in the world and they were invited as rabbis to a Jewish event, there would be food that they could eat. And so they got up, stormed out, and started the conservative movement. So that's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not exactly what happened, but it is kind of what happened.
This is called the treif banquet. The treif banquet.
Treif banquet.
So when I was in high school, I remember I learned about this, and I remember because I went to a conservative Jewish day school, and we learned. And we learned literally that they got up and they started the conservative movement. Like, this was it. Too much. Yeah,
it was done.
So funny. Yeah, I've been to reenactments of the Treif banquet. Like, it's like people are obsessed with the Treif banquet, and I wrote about it in my undergraduate thesis. Like, I was like deep in that world of like this moment in time. Interestingly enough, though, you said pork is the line. I will say I just opened up to a pork chart.
Gotta love a pork chart.
Literally a breakdown of every pork,
every cut
of pork.
Of pork.
And it's so interesting to me is like it's not only is this book like it has some like every single matzah recipe under the sun, but it has some of the least Jewish, like the most American, like goyish, non-Jewish dishes that like I could, like, if I was
ham balls.
Yeah, like I'm looking here at like this like souffle section with like all sorts of different kinds, the jellied meats, and like not the pacha variety.
Yeah, what about pacha?
Not the pacha variety, but there's so many things.
But what about cha?
So many things that I would think of like are like the least Jewish foods imaginable. Here I'm looking at butterscotch sauce.
Right, but this is just
rum butter sauce.
But it's a general cookbook.
Boiled
It's a general
crawfish.
cookbook.
Cookbook. But
here's the frog's leg section I should point out.
Yes, there's quite a bit of frog's legs.
Yeah.
A lot of oysters.
Okay, I think we need to jump to one question not about the settlement cookbook.
Okay.
Which is that, Nora, your partner, Rob Knipe, is actually a vegan butcher in Rochester, has a vegan butcher shop. I think for those folks who may have never been to a vegan butcher shop or are like, what are you talking about? Maybe you could just give us a little bit of an idea of what can you get at a vegan butcher shop. I'm totally jumping topics because I want to make sure we get it in. And I think it's really interesting. And also, we get a lot of questions from people who are interested in reconciling their love of certain foods with whatever values they have or dietary restrictions they have for any reason. And so, that's what people were doing here, right? That's what people were doing with the settlement cookbook. They were, whether it was putting their values on other people by putting these recipes in a book. I think it's an interesting topic and definitely one that Jeffrey and I talk to people a lot about, is like that tension between maybe what was and what shall be. So can you tell us just a little bit about a vegan butcher shop?
I mean, it's not that different than just becoming kosher and wanting a taste that scratches an itch, right? And trying to find a way to kosherize a recipe,
Yeah.
But Rob and I became vegan about 10 years ago. His origin story is after we saw a Bruce Springsteen concert, and we were up really late and had a little bit to drink, and in the morning we thought, what do vegans do with hangovers? Like, where is my breakfast sandwich that will like help with all of this? And we always cooked a lot. We really enjoyed cooking. And then a few years later, I mean, he started playing around and making a lot of kind of fake meats and
like mainly of what?
Seitan, primarily with seitan. He's had
Vital wheat gluten.
Vital wheat gluten. So, he started out, he made a breakfast sausage, he made bacon, chicken cutlets, and then started doing sausages. So really, it looks like a deli. You go in there is a case, you can buy meats out of the case, there's deli meats, like sliced meats, and but also it's a sandwich shop. So I was thinking about you guys and your conversation. It was last week about the different names of sandwiches.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe we know someone. Maybe we can get a sandwich.
Yeah. I need a sandwich.
So here's the thing, though. All of the sandwiches are kind of like weird, song title puns.
This is so relevant to our conversation. Could you give us an example? Are they Bruce Springsteen?
No. Actually, I don't think we have a Bruce Springsteen song.
Well, you are from Jersey, so that Springsteen concert was probably a religious experience.
Again, we've been many times since that one. But and again, this is as someone who did not really grow up in New Jersey, I continue to appropriate my own culture, right? I am okay, I will be the biggest Springsteen fan, this is. So anyway, so Take on Salami.
Take on Me.
Thank you.
Yeah, got it. Uh-huh.
And Mortadella Woman.
Oh, yeah, really good.
Yeah, so they spend
quite
a lot of. The Mortadella Woman is
delicious.
So good. It's the Anthony Bourdain favorite sandwich. It's just this mortadella sandwich with provolone,
Dijon mustard,
mayo,
grilled.
Mm. It's a simple, delicious sandwich.
And so the provolone, the mortadella, and the mayonnaise are all made vegan and in-house?
He does not make the cheese.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. But all of the meats are made in-house, which actually is a thing where people are a little confused by that because they come in and they're like, so where do you get it? And he's like, I make it. Like there's no like big like, you know, place where one gets all of the, you know, that, like where do I source that? I source it in my kitchen. And it's great. I mean, I think, you know, people get stressed out about processing, you know, processed foods like, well, oh, it's so processed, this fake meat. But I mean, it's really like made with relatively simple ingredients. And, you know, I get a little confused sometimes when people use the term processed because I'm like, so like, everything is processed, right? Like it's like a recipe. It's essentially like baking. But anyway, so you can get all kinds of food, all kinds of vegan meats.
You got a Reuben?
That you can cook. Of course, we have a Reuben.
Okay.
What is it called? The back in the USS Reuben, I think.
And you have a pastrami?
The pastrami sandwich is pastrami, myself, and I.
This is so good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he used to do like, when he came up with a new sandwich and unveiled it, then he would do like a playlist of all the covers of that song.
Oh,
that would be played all day long.
Commitment.
Very
So
nice.
there is a playlist.
Amazing. Well, just to wrap up, you know, so the last cookbook was published in 1991.
Yes.
Is it done? Are there no more coming? Like, what is the future of this cookbook? And I guess where is it at now in the American legacy?
So the 1991 edition was really kind of a reboot. It had a foreword by Charles Pierce. It wasn't really made by the ladies from the settlement anymore. There were some original recipes that were put in that, and they were consulted when that book was being made, but they had pretty much retired from any kind of work. It was really like very touching in some ways to read these letters between Sarah Ettenheim, who took over for Lizzie Kander, and really like made it the juggernaut that it was, and ultimately had a deal with Simon & Schuster, which is the publishing house that put out the kind of anniversary edition of this cookbook. So who knows? I mean, maybe this will generate some interest in a new settlement cookbook, but it is still something that people have around, right?
Yeah.
So there is an afterlife to this cookbook, I think, that it feels like in some ways this is, you know, a material culture touchstone, which is sort of ironic because if you think of it as a book, and I think this is what got me into it, is this idea that this was supposed to Americanize immigrants, and now Jews see it as like this thing that is a reminder of like a traditional Jewish, you know, past.
I say the same thing about the deli, by the way. The
Mhm.
deli was a place where immigrants, you know, experienced America for the first time, but in a way that felt palatable and comfortable. And yet now it's this repository of this immigrant identity, this memory.
Yeah. The
Fascinating.
deli is how people became American. right?
Exactly, yeah.
And now it's how people express their Judaism.
Wow. Okay, we did it. So we're here. We're sliding into the vinyl seats at the deli,
Okay.
the booth. We're gonna talk. Maybe we have something to kvetch about, something to kvel about, something to share. This is the moment. So
All right, I'm going to make a little space here. I have an idea. I have something. For all
we're gonna
of you.
move the cookbooks. Okay.
So let me get it.
Okay.
Okay, my friends. Well, in honor of this exciting experience, I decided to cook something from the Settlement Cookbook for all of you.
Oh, wow.
And I was my first challenge was, what can I make that's vegan? Because I know you're vegan, Nora, and so I made a recipe from the 1940s edition for the peanut butter bread.
Oh.
It's a peanut butter bread. It's like a quick bread with peanut butter, and I was like, I could pull this off.
Okay.
Check out this beautiful loaf of peanut butter bread.
Wow.
My house smelled really good. It was a very simple, pass it on. It was a simple recipe. It was sort of in the world of quick breads. You know, there was other loaves of things, but this had no egg. It had milk, but I used oat milk. And I was excited about this because I was kind of like, is this like a we're getting protein? Is this a, and I don't know what it's going to taste like. So I was really mindful of the idea that this cookbook was meant to give people precise measurements, right? Like this cookbook, the settlement cookbook, was really a movement to kind of cook more scientifically. And so I really tried to follow the recipe to a T, kind of just to test it. But I was also mindful that perhaps things are a little different, in the 1940s when this recipe was developed. So I'd say it's a pretty nice little loaf we have here. It was truly a simple recipe.
Yeah, it looks like a classic,
like a banana bread.
Yeah.
It looks a little paler than a typical banana bread, but it has some nice, nice browning on top. It slices nice and easily. It looks like there's a lot of moisture there. We can
Smells
smell
like peanut butter in here. I think my house smelled like peanut butter. I can tell you that.
Definitely smelling that.
It's got a nice crumb. So I would say
the top of it, you can kind of like feel like the crunchy bits of the peanut butter, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful there's gonna be a little bit of crunch in this.
We'll see. The recipe specifically said to make sure that it was supple enough to mold into the pan nicely. Like it had a note about that. And what I thought made me think that like maybe sometimes peanut butter was stored for a long time and would be separated or something like that. Like I was like, what was that note about? Right. Like maybe you had, it was hard to you really had to like stir the peanut butter into the milk. That was the other, there wasn't much, but
was it supple enough?
It was. Yeah. It was supple enough. So please help yourself to the peanut butter bread from the 1940s edition. I have a little bookmark for it. It could also be bad. It's pretty bad.
No, like it's actually much drier than I thought it would be.
It needs salt. It needs something. Wow.
You know what would be amazing?
You guys were really excited about this.
You know what would be amazing with it? Some jelly. You kind of get your peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but like the peanut butter's in the bread. But it definitely needs the moisture of the jam or the jelly.
It's not bad.
It just doesn't have much going on. It needs salt, it needs sugar, and it needs more peanut butter.
I honestly,
my kid's gonna eat it.
It's also kind of hard to eat.
Yeah, I want amp up the peanut butter. Like, what do we? Again, I'm sensing
an essence of peanut butter.
It's like a perfume.
Yeah. I feel like I need to wash my mouth out. So I'm actually going to suggest that we have a drink.
Oh.
Okay. So our producer Felicia brought us a pickle lemonade from Hop Water. In collaboration with Hot Girl Pickles, and I think
I love Hop Water,
and I
love Hot Girl Pickles. So
I think I
love pickles.
I don't have like strong feelings about either. So let's try the pickle soda.
It's non-alcoholic.
I feel peanut butter bread and pickle soda like these go together, right?
This is very settlement cookbook. I just want to say. Very.
Although not the early years when they were scared of all that flavor and all of that.
I hope there's no garlic in this.
Okay. Oh yeah. Let's get some ASMR.
I'm trying to think of what it smells like.
Well, and then we get to toast you in the publication of your book. And
thank
your
you
amazing
so much, and thank you so much for
Congrats.
having me.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yep, I like this.
I like it.
I like it.
I like it.
Yeah.
I do.
I could go
I'm down
more
with it.
pickle.
Yeah,
I could go a little more pickle.
It's mellow.
Can I
But
be
I like
honest?
it.
I don't taste the pickle.
It's on the
It's
nose.
a little, yeah.
Yeah, I don't taste lemon or pickle, but whatever
But
it is,
I like it a
They're
lot.
good, yeah.
whatever it is, it's good.
I agree. I'll buy this.
Yeah, it's really good. And also, lemonade can often be too sweet.
That is so real.
It's so floral. What is this floral
That's what I'm
flavor?
saying. Your nose,
Yeah.
you're like, it's perfumey.
Pickle. This is neither pickle nor lemonade, but it is enjoyable.
But also, if you have your nose
It's the
in
hops,
this,
I guess.
you smell the.
It's hops.
Yeah.
It's just the hops.
It says it's delicious on the outside, so I don't know what that means, but
Well, Liz, thank you for bringing us this. I'm glad we cooked something, or you baked something from the cookbook.
I had to, and I knew baking was a big part of the settlement cookbook,
Yeah.
so that's why I started there, and I found this.
And thank you, Felicia, our producer, for making sure we have hot girl pickles, hot water. And thankfully
I have a
we
new
can.
thing now.
Yeah, this is your thing now.
This is my
Hot
new-
girl.
You can have it at the vegan butcher shop.
Hot
That's
girl
right.
pickle summer. I think, is
Grass-fed
that- yeah.
Rochester.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Okay, well,
What you got, Jeffrey? Anything?
I have a kvetch.
Oh, bringing it down.
It's been a few too many
He's
weeks
bringing
of
it down.
fells of positivity.
You have really been in a good mood, so
Yeah.
we need to change that.
Okay, so here's my kvetch. I love the bathhouse. Like I love the Russian baths.
You love a bathhouse.
I go to a bathhouse whenever I travel to various countries. I love to find the bathhouse. One of my favorite moments was in Helsinki in the winter in January, and instead of a cold plunge, you just go outside. You wrap yourself in a towel. You stand outside in the freezing Helsinki winter. You drink beer and eat pickles. And I was like, this is my heaven. Like this is what I was born to do.
Very on brand.
Okay. So I go to the Russian baths. Now, I had a friend and neighbor who was insistent on going to one of these new bathhouses that's like, I think of them as private equity bathhouses, like really designed. Actually, this particular
They are
one
very popular these days.
uses like somehow is involved in like crypto mining for heat generation.
Oh, dear.
But I was like, you know what? Like they really wanted to go, and it had a rooftop, and it was like about the rooftop and pool. So I was like, I'm open to a beautiful rooftop and pool. I'll try most things once. Even though I was worried, I went to this bathhouse, and the thing I love about the Russian baths and stuff is that like I get a cultural experience. I get great food. There's amazing borscht. These garlic potatoes at the Fulton
The one
baths.
downtown. Oh my god!
Oh
those
my
garlic
gosh,
potatoes.
those garlic potatoes. I honestly.
Then you just sweat them out.
And speaking of garlic, you go in there. It's like there's way too much garlic, and it's just right. I love it. And so I went to this bathhouse, and it was like all the. I kind of joked that it was kind of like the trendy bagel shops, like of bathhouse. It was lines for everything. It was like lines
In a bathhouse, there was lines.
lines to get to the rooftop. 20 minutes.
What?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Secondly, it was very clean, and sometimes the Russian baths, they could use a little cleaning. It was very clean. It looked very nice. But I felt like I was surrounded by a lot of people who didn't know, like there were too many people who didn't know bathhouse etiquette. You know, when you go to the Russian bathhouse, and you're there with someone for the first time or so, and they look around, they see how people are handling it. They put on, maybe they don't have a hat, they put a towel on their head. They kind of watch and learn and observe. But there were too many people who didn't know, so there just wasn't like a bathhouse etiquette or culture, and I just was feeling like something was missing. And then there was a restaurant, and I've heard the food's good. I didn't get to go there, but I was on the rooftop where they had a bar and snacks, and it was just like potato chips and just like things I didn't like. I wanted like salty, savory, fatty foods. I wanted the pelmeni, the Russian pelmeni. I wanted horseradish infused vodka. So I was missing the culture of the bathhouse. So Nora, do you have any
take on a bathhouse?
Yeah.
Or Patrick Fell?
I would like to kvel about a food item that I had yesterday. Is that something I can do?
Yes, wonderful.
We will permit it.
Okay, thank you. Last night we had this celebration of my book, which I appreciated that you two attended, which was wonderful. And we ordered food from Spicy Moon, which I had heard good things about. It is a vegan Chinese place in town. There's several locations. But really what sold me on this place is that they had chopped cheese spring rolls, which...
What is chopped cheese?
It's like a sandwich. It's like a cheesesteak, but it's not. It's like all chopped up and everything. And
Bodega
it's got all,
sandwich.
yeah. I had cheesesteak egg rolls before, which are also very good. But so anyway, so this is a vegan chopped cheese spring roll. It was amazing.
I missed those. I didn't have
You
I
them.
missed
have
them
any?
too. I missed them because we went to Katz's Deli before.
All right,
God, we're
so
strong.
I'm
We
hungry.
pre-gamed.
Yeah, but yeah.
We
it
didn't
was-
know. We didn't know how good the food was going to be.
Yeah.
We did it. Thank you so much, Nora, for being here. We are so glad that you are here. And you know what else we love? questions. We love questions from our listeners. Folks, we know you have questions. We know you're out there. You're wondering about your grandmother's recipe. Maybe the settlement cookbook inspired a question in your heart or soul or mind. Please DM us on Instagram. Fill out the form in the show notes. You can email us, podcast@kefilteria.com. We would love to hear from you.
And let us know if you grew up with the settlement cookbook or if it's an important family heirloom.
Yep.
We'd love to hear about it.
Yes. And shout out to our producer, Felicia Reich, who, it's true, is from Florida. And we're so excited about our new associate producer, Asha Tobe. They love Sleepaway Camp.
And tell people about the show. It's the best way for us to grow. And please share the clips that are up at the Gefilteria Instagram page.
Take our answers out into your lives and bring us back the leftovers. Thanks.
This has been a Heed Media podcast.